A Qantas plane has landed in Wuhan, ready to fly hundreds of Australians to Darwin from the coronavirus epicenter. Matt Cunningham is at the Darwin Workers' Village where the evacuees will be quarantined for the next 2 weeks. Matt, when are you expecting them to arrive?
Well, Tim, we are expecting them at some stage today. That Qantas plane has landed in Wuhan. It landed there just after midnight Sydney time, so it has been on the ground now for about 6 hours. There are hundreds of passengers there, Australian passengers, waiting to board that plane and fly here to Darwin. Now, we are expecting that plane to take off sometime very soon. If that happens, then it will arrive here at about midday. It's about a 9-hour flight from Wuhan to Darwin. When that plane does eventually arrive, that plane is expected to land at the RAF base here in Darwin. Those passengers, more than 200 of them, will then be put onto buses and they'll be sent here to this Darwin Workers' Village. I'm about 30 kilometres from the Darwin CBD. This is a workers' village that once belonged to the Inpex gas company, but about 2 years ago the last of the workers moved out of here. It was handed to the Northern Territory government just last year, and on Friday we heard the Health Minister Greg Hunt confirm that it would be the new site for these quarantined evacuees coming from Wuhan. That's because the inn is full at Christmas Island. Authorities there said that they really didn't want to take any more into that facility, the Christmas Island Detention Centre, so they will be sent here. Now, I have to say that facilities here will be a far cry from what we've seen on Christmas Island. This is a pretty flash workers' village here, some liken to a 4 or 5 star resort. It's equipped with everything from swimming pools to a cinema, a gym, all sorts of facilities that these people will be able to use while they're here. The AUSMAT medical team was very keen to have them brought here because it's close to their headquarters, which is also based here in Darwin. But we are expecting that plane to take off any time now, Tim, and arrive here in Darwin at about lunchtime.
Also, Matt, this comes as doctors on Christmas Island wait for tests to return after fears of a possible case of infection there. When are those results expected back?
Hopefully today, Janie. You can understand it would be an anxious wait for those people who are inside the Christmas Island Detention Centre as they wait for that case. The doctors there sent that test off to the Australian mainland, to Perth, on Friday. Now, there's 276 people inside that detention centre on Christmas Island. This test related to a young girl. Now, it's understood that that girl has since been isolated from others within that facility to try to prevent the spread of further infection, although I've been told by several people there on Christmas Island that that medical team there, that AUSMAT medical team, really are taking an extremely conservative approach when it comes to this. So they have sent that test off, although many believe, although the hopes are that there really is an extremely low chance that it will come back positive. Here's what the Deputy Chief Health Officer had to say about this particular case.
That person is well. It's certainly not a serious illness at this stage. They have been further isolated from the other people that are on the island, and the appropriate steps in infection control and indeed clinical care are being taken.
So that test is expected back later today. We're also expecting a machine to arrive on Christmas Island either late today or tomorrow that will allow those doctors there to actually do the testing on site. That'll mean there's just a 2-hour turnaround if they want to actually test someone for coronavirus, rather than having to have a sample sent off to the mainland as they've had to do in this case. But back to what's happening here on the ground in Darwin. As I said, we are expecting that plane from Wuhan to take off any time now, arrive here in Darwin at about lunchtime, and bringing those more than 200 Australian evacuees here to this workers' village, this quarantine centre that has now been set up here in Howard Springs, about 30 kilometres from the Darwin CBD.
Thanks, Matty.